Deployment and Scalability. Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint. Module 3. Advanced Configuration. At the end of this module, you'll be able to manage certificates, enable the advanced filter pack, and set permissions within Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint. Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint uses certificates for authentication and encryption purposes. The certificates are used both for communication between servers in multiple server Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint deployments and between Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint and SharePoint Server. The three certificates serve different functions, which must be configured and replaced separately when needed. The General Purpose Fast Search Certificate is used for internal communication, administration services, and feeding from SharePoint Server. The Server-Specific Certificate for query traffic using HTTPS is only used on query servers that have HTTPS query traffic enabled, and the Claim Certificate only used on query servers. During the initial installation, Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint generates a self-signed certificate. The self-signed certificate has 1 year expiration date from the time of configuration and is only meant to be used in test environments. There are several limitations to this certificate. Self-signed certificates provide limited security because they cannot be revoked. This could allow for an attacker to spoof identities or insert data into connectors if the private key was compromised. The self-signed certificates cannot be used to enable queries over HTTPS, and the self-signed certificates cannot be used to enable administration services over HTTPS. To replace the default self-signed certificate with a new self-signed certificate, you will need to start Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint on all servers in the farm, including the monitoring service. Generate new certificates on each admin server in the farm. Generate new certificates on each non-admin server in the farm. And then finally, start Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint on all non-admin servers. To replace the default self-signed certificate with a certificate signed by a certification authority, you will need to update each server in the Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint farm, the admin server in the Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint farm, on each non-admin server in the Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint farm, and then finally the Microsoft SharePoint server where the content SSA is running. To replace the query HTTPS certificate on each Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint query server, first import the new server-specific SSL certificate, then delete the previous certificate binding, and then finally configure the query server to use the new certificate. The steps for this procedure are outlined in the notes. The Advanced Filter Pack is a Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint feature that enables text and metadata extraction from several hundred file formats, complementing the document formats that are supported by Microsoft Filter Pack. By default, the Advanced Filter Pack is disabled. Outlined in the notes are the steps required to either enable the Advanced Filter Pack or to disable the Advanced Filter Pack. The Administration Service administers and configures the Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint servers. Clients of the Administrator Service include the following: administrators on the Microsoft SharePoint server and internal Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint components which retrieve configuration information. By default, this traffic uses HTTP. You can help secure the traffic by using HTTPS. Steps for enabling administration service over HTTPS are outlined in the notes. The prerequisite installer by default downloads components from the Microsoft Download Center to the server on which you are installing Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint. The prerequisite installer requires internet access and a Windows firewall open at port 80. If the server where you are running the prerequisite installer does not have internet access, you can use the prerequisite installer in an offline mode. To install prerequisites using the offline mode, follow these steps. Manually download each prerequisite applicable to your operating system. Copy the prerequisites to the server where you will run the prerequisite installer, and then specify each prerequisite as a command line option when you run the prerequisite installer. Listed in this slide are the prerequisite installer command line options, including the associated knowledge base article, which is available from www.microsoft.com. Changing a user password. The Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint user is a domain user. When the user password is changed in the Active Directory domain services, the password of the Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint user must be changed on all servers in the Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint farm. On every Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint server, update the user credentials for all Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint Windows services, including the following: the Fast Search service, the Fast Search browser engine, the Fast Search monitoring service, the Query Proxy service, the Fast Search SAM admin service, and the Fast Search SAM worker service. To change the user that Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint is running under, stop the Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint on all servers in the farm, change the user on the admin server in the farm, and then change the user on all other servers in the farm. The detailed steps of how to do this are outlined in the notes. In some cases, you may want to change the database that Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint uses after initial installation and configuration. The post-configuration wizard creates a new database when you configure a single server or admin server. To change the database, follow the steps outlined in the notes. In this module, you have learned to manage certificates, enable the advanced filter pack, and set permissions within Fast Search Server 2010 for SharePoint.